Hi. This feels so weird. I feel like it's been way too long since I've spoken to the camera, because it has. This is a new location, a new situation. We are tier ranking today. I tried to kind of emulate last year's tier ranking situation. I was in a hoodie and had my hair up and it was very casual vibes. And because that's genuinely the only thing I can muster up right now because life is so chaotic, that's what we're going with. So, new space, I've moved. Obviously the bookshelves are not finished. I will be doing that in the next video, you see, probably. But the new year has been a little bit hectic, a little bit crazy, to say the least. Actually, the end of 2024 to the beginning of 2025 has all been insane. So anyways, I know that this is a little bit late. I know this is a little bit late. It is, as of today, January 8th. So the first week of the new year is already done and I'm only just now sitting down to film the first video of the year. There's been a lot. Holidays, moving, the chaos that's occurring in my city right now. I'm gonna put resources if you have the means and would like to donate to help people that are being affected by the LA wildfires. Today, I will put resources in the description. It's been a little chaotic. So that being said though, I didn't want too much time to have passed before I sat down to actually reflect on and recap the books that I read last year, because I read so many good books and I wanted to do what I did last year and basically just put everything in one place, talk about them briefly, maybe give a little bit of context, a little bit of my opinions, and then put them in a tier. It was so much fun doing this last year. I love watching tier ranking videos. I actually tried to do a mid-year tier ranking video that just, it did not, like, my technology was not cooperating with me, so we'll see how this all plays out, but I'm really excited to be back and be filming again and be talking about books because I missed it. So with all that being said, also sorry if the lighting situation is, I'm still getting my room set up, so all I have is this one lamp and then I have one in front of me and the sun is gonna be setting here in a little bit, so we're gonna do what we can with the lighting, but sorry about that in advance, just in case. I did really briefly, before I get into the tier ranking, quickly wanted to go over little stats that Goodreads put together in my year in review, like reading recap thing. Honestly, they don't give you a lot of stats and it wasn't like the most exciting like year in review thing in the whole world, but I still think it's fun to just put the stats here so I can see them in the future, come back and see what they were at this time. So in 2024, I read 70 books, which made up 26,929 pages, which is a lot. That's a lot of pages. So I'm pretty sure last year I read 50 books, I think. So 20 more than last year, which is really exciting. The average book length of the books I read in 2024 was 384 pages. And the shortest book I read was Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan at 128 pages. And the longest book was Fourth Wing at 646, which honestly, I mean, I guess that makes sense. For some reason, I would have thought it was like A Court of Mist and Fury or something. I guess not. So those are my 2024 stats that Goodreads put together for me. It's always just so fun seeing a year condensed like that. So that being said, let's go ahead and do it some more and actually condense all the books I read in 2024 into these tiers. First things first, let me walk you through the tiers we have going on. I added more than I did last year. One extra like good tier and one extra like tier. So hopefully that will do the trick and I'll feel confident about putting each book in one of these. So first things first, we have, equivalent to last year's New Personality Traits just dropped. That is like my top tier 5-star, 6-star reads. Honestly, I think some of the books that go in here might end up being below 5-star reads. Like I might have rated them like 4, 4.5, whatever. But something about them really resonated with me and I feel really confident in saying like this is one of my favorite books that I read this year / all time kind of thing. So these are definitely the books that I resonate with, that I loved, that I will be thinking about, etc. So, you know, S tier. The next tier is nodding head emoji. If you're unfamiliar, it looks like this. So basically this is like just below, like good, almost great, just below the S tier. Like I really enjoyed them, but there's just something about it that holds me back from saying it's like an all-time favorite or I was obsessed with it or it's like taste defining, I guess. Those are the ones that are like just below. Okay, next we have Fun and or Cutie. These are the books that maybe were a little bit more mindless, but I really enjoyed, maybe had something about them that I wasn't obsessed with, but I still overall had a really good time. I really liked them, but I didn't love them. Honestly, like this is probably where the most gray area is gonna be between nodding head emoji and Fun and or Cutie, but I feel like nodding head emoji are the ones that just like resonate with me a little bit more in that tier, and then Fun and or Cutie are the ones that are just Fun and or Cutie. Next we have Personally Didn't Love, but I See the Vision. Basically books that there are things about it that I really like that honestly, if it had been a little bit different, I probably really would have loved it. There was just something about it that I didn't love, but I like understand why people do. So that one's really specific, I guess. And we have Mid. This could be broad range, but you know what mid, it's just, they're mid. Then we have the sideways face. Essentially, I feel like this category is more for the ones that I was really disappointed by. I'll be really interested to see what ends up in this, but it's the ones where I had higher expectations and they weren't met, or I wanted to like it but I just really didn't. Something like that, where it just made me feel like that as I was reading it, as I was finishing it, as I was reflecting on it, etc. We have Fever Dream O'Clock. There are some books that I either was like not in the right headspace to read, or I read really quickly, or whatever. There was some kind of outside circumstance where I either don't remember anything about them, I kind of forgot that I read them in general, or the reading experience itself was literally a fever dream. So that's kind of like the category of reads going in there. And then lastly, we have a returner category from last year, which is not my cup of tea. Basically just books that I maybe should have DNF'd, ones that I really didn't like, ones that just really truly were not written for me, and that's okay, but that's where they land. So those are our tiers. Honestly, a little bit more nitpicky than last year, a little bit more elaborate, specific. We'll see if this helps or hurts my indecisiveness. It's anyone's guess, honestly. Okay. So with that being said, here are all of the books that I read in 2024. Like I said, 70 books. There are some really good ones in here. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not sort them by anything specific. Just let the system shuffle it for me, and I have no idea what the order is. So we'll see how that plays out. With all that being said, I feel like I've already been talking for so long. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first up we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I actually also read ACOTAR, so this is the first and second book in the ACOTAR series, obviously. I read ACOTAR in January. I think it was one of the very first books that I read in 2024, and then A Court of Mist and Fury I read in February, I think, and then I didn't read any other books in the series for the rest of the year. So I honestly think I would put ACOTAR in fun and or cutie, because I enjoyed myself, but I wasn't like obsessed when I finished it. I did, like, there were parts of it that I was binging, I was really locked in, I really wanted to like it because it is a favorite for so many people that I watch, and also that I know in real life. Like, so many people that I know in real life love this series, which I love that for them. I think I just had such high expectations that they were met in some aspects and then they weren't in others. Like, there were things that I really enjoyed, had a lot of fun with, and then things that I just wasn't obsessed with. And honestly, I might put A Court of Mist and Fury in there too, because when I was reading ACOMAF, I was kind of slumpy. It took me, I think, 2 or 3 weeks to read. I read it in a reading vlog, and it took me a really long time to finish just because I was having trouble getting into the story. I ended up liking it. I think I had it at 5 stars on Goodreads, but in my reading vlog, I rated it 4.5, I'm pretty sure. It's one of those things where, like, for the majority of the book, I like wasn't super in it, wasn't super invested, and then I really liked the ending. So I think I would also put her in fun and or cutie, because they were just fun, but they weren't like favorites for me, if that makes sense. Okay, next up we have a novel love story. This is tricky because I really like Ashley Poston. This is a magical realism romance. Ashley Poston's other 2 books, Dead Romantics and 7 Year Slip, I really enjoyed them both. 7 Year Slip is like one of my top tier reads from 2023. Unfortunately, a novel love story just really fell flat for me. It's about a girl that gets sucked into the magical town of her favorite romance series, and while the concept is really fun, it just execution wise wasn't what I wanted it to be. I found it really difficult to connect to the characters, and I think that there were a lot of interesting things that could have been done that weren't, so I just wasn't obsessed at the end of the day. So then when it comes to something like this, I don't know whether to put it in the sideways face, like disappointing tier, or personally didn't love but I see the vision, or mid. It could go anywhere in this middle. It could go anywhere in the middle of this, if I'm being completely honest. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars, so I think I feel like it has to go in mid. That makes me really sad. I feel like it would go in slashy face because it was disappointing, but the thing is, like, it wasn't disappointing in the way where I like really didn't like it. There were parts of it that I liked, parts of it that I enjoyed. I actually also read this in a reading vlog, and so my actual like real-time thoughts are available there, but the more I think about it, like the farther out I get from it, the more I'm like, I don't think that's one that I would really ever revisit, and like cool concept, not a great execution. So I think I would put it in mid. Slashy face feels a little bit too low because I do still really like her writing, but I don't think I can put it higher. Okay, next we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Not my cup of tea. It like was bingeable, and that was it. That was the only merit, I feel like. I read it because I wanted to be involved in the conversation, and I don't feel like I gained absolutely anything. So not my cup of tea, not written for me. I don't think me and Colleen Hoover are friends. So we have Alone With You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, which is a romance book that I read, I think, in February. I really liked this. I don't know whether it should go in nodding head emoji or yup. I really don't know. I think I gave it 5 stars. I think it might have to go in yup. I think it might have to go in yup. Like, okay, the more I say this to you, the less I like it. Do I like that as the tier label? I'm adding this so I can just do that instead of saying yep. I really liked the style of this book. I love Olivia Blake's writing. She's a very lyrical writer, and style-wise this was a romance unlike anything I'd ever read before, and a lot of the way the story impacted me had to do with the way that it was told. It was kind of like divided up into different parts, and there was a different style to each part. The characters were very flawed, very nuanced, very real, which I've discovered this year specifically that I love in romance books. Like, that's what makes me connect the most with a romance story, is when the characters are flawed but in a way that feels genuine, not just a flaw for the sake of having a flaw or plot. But there are a lot of quotes in this book that I love. It really hit for me, like really hit for me, and solidified for me that I really like Olivia Blake as a writer. Definitely would say it's in my top reads of the year. Next we have Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. I think I could put, actually, you know what? I think that can go in Fever Dream O'Clock, because I read that in basically 2 sittings, one of which was the entirety of a plane ride, where right before I got on the plane, I downloaded this because I saw one tweet and I was like, oh, I'd like to read that. Downloaded it, read most of the book on my flight, and then finished it when I got to my parents' house and stayed up really late reading it. So it honestly kind of all blurs together. But this is one of those where the more I think about it, like the farther out I get from it, the less I like it. And I feel like that was also exacerbated after I watched the season. Colin Bridgerton just is not, he's not. Okay, next we have, so The Hand on the Wall is part of the Truly Devious series, which I read all 3 of the books in that initial trilogy. I'm sure there are a couple books now that come after the initial trilogy, like the story has continued with the same characters. This is a series that I don't really know how to talk about because it's such an interesting situation, I feel like, where I feel like this year I struggled more to read series consistently and like finish the series once I started it. These I read all within the same month, I think, or the same span of like time frame of a month. Maybe it like went over 2 months, but it was, you know what I mean. When I think back, like when I zoom out and look at the story, like the mystery, by the way, this is a young adult mystery thriller series. It was like an overarching big mystery that went across all 3 books, but then there were like mini things that happened, obviously mini mysteries in each book that were like pieces of the bigger puzzle. And when I think about it, in the grand scheme of things, the overarching mystery is really nothing. Like, it's really was nothing crazy. The twists weren't crazy. The relationships between the characters weren't crazy. The romance actually kind of really bugged me. The main romance between our girly and her man, I didn't really like it. He was a very strange character, very strange character. And yet I read all 3 books so close together and I was eating it up at the time. I know some people call specific books like popcorn reads, where it's nothing of crazy substance and it's not like groundbreaking, crazy good quality wise, but something about it, you're just, you can't stop shoveling it in. That's kind of what I feel like these are to me, weirdly enough. So I have no idea where to put them. If I'm being honest, I did enjoy myself. Except for, I think the 3rd one I liked significantly less than the first 2. I think I personally would put them in mid, which is so interesting, the fact that I read them so quickly, but I think they're all like 3 to 3.5 star reads. So like, even at the time I wasn't like, oh, this is groundbreaking, but something about them had me wanting to finish the series. Like it really grabbed me. I just don't consider them like anywhere near the top of the list in terms of like quality or enjoyment level of books I read this year. I don't know what happened there. In a way, I feel like they also qualify for Fever Dream because that is so weird, but I feel like they have to go there. Up next, we have His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I read this pretty soon after I got my Kindle for my birthday from my friends Kat and Maddie. And because I had Kindle Unlimited, all of a sudden I was reading a lot of thrillers for free on Kindle Unlimited. I read like so many of them in 1 month, I feel like. That might be exaggerating, but it felt like I did. I remember liking this. Like, I remember liking this significantly more than I liked Rock, Paper, Scissors when I read it in 2023. And I remember rating it highly, I'm pretty sure. Ask me one thing about the plot. I have no idea. I think the MMC was a cop and the FMC was being accused of some crimes or being framed for some crimes. That's all I remember. That's really all I remember. And unfortunately, I feel like that means I have to put it in Fever Dream because I don't remember anything about it. And that might be unfair because I think past me really enjoyed it, but I don't remember a single thing about it. So I think she has to go there. Next we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I liked it. I like Abby Jimenez's writing. I think like is the key word here. I think I would put this in fun and or cutie. Anytime I'm reading an Abby Jimenez book, I'm saying this only having read 2, I enjoy myself, but there's something about the nature of her stories that just hold me back from being fully obsessed. I felt the same way about Yours Truly, which I think I would also put it in fun and or cutie. It's very tricky because I feel like with contemporary romances, each author's style is so specific, especially in terms of like what kind of stories they tell and what kind of characters they write. And I feel like Abby Jimenez's men are always like, obviously slightly flawed, but it's like they are the pinnacle of a perfect man in so many ways where it just feels a bit unrealistic to me. I think I gave both of these books 4 or 4.5 stars, if I'm remembering correctly. But like when I think about the idea of picking up another Abby Jimenez book, I need to give it to me right now. Like I'm not going back to go pick up Part of Your World or read the other series. I think it's like the Happily Ever After playlist is her other series. So with all that being said, they're fun and cute and I would recommend them if I know the person likes contemporary romances like that, but I'm not obsessed and I'm not gonna go out of my way to read more of them, if that makes sense. Up next we have Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto, which I read towards the end of December. Guys, I ate this up, okay? I ate this up to an extreme degree, except for a few things about like the back half. Like they had me in a chokehold, okay, for the first half of this book. Like I was eating it up. And then I feel like for my taste, it got maybe just like a little bit too spicy, a little bit too melodramatic. And there were a couple of elements of the conflict where it was just kind of like grinding my gears. So I don't feel like it's like top tier, like, but it is really, really good. And I would recommend it. It is an orchestra romance. The two main characters play together in the Manhattan Pops Orchestra. She is a violinist, he's a cellist, and he's also a famous cellist. Like he's basically like pop star, etc. And so much of this book is like YN insert. Like it's like this girl is living out her fanfic dreams because she's actually a fan of his. Not like personally, but she's always loved his band. And it's one of those things where you know from very early on, he is obsessed with the idea of her. Like obsessed with the idea of her and like her talent. And so I think that was the part of it that I struggled with a little bit because there were times where it felt like they were so certain they loved each other or whatever, but in some ways it was like, do you or do you just have this idea kind of thing? So that's another reason why I wasn't like yes 100%, but I really liked it. Okay, I really liked it. I think the premise is so good. It was really good and I had a great time. One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, a Romeo and Juliet retelling in modern day New York with rival witch families. Read this on my Kindle, I'm pretty sure. I still really like Olivia Blake's writing. I did not like the plot of this book. I think I would go mid because I think there were a lot of elements of this that were just on the weaker side plot-wise. Like I think there were so many more things we could have done that would have been super interesting and it just fell a little bit flat for me. It could go in, I personally didn't love But I See the Vision, but I honestly think it's like a little bit lower than that because it doesn't have that like it factor where I can so see why it works for people. There's just something just like a little bit mid about it. I still love the writing, don't get me wrong. It's specifically the plot and like the characters and stuff that I felt were a bit wasted. I feel like this premise was wasted on them, if that makes sense. Okay, next we have Little Weirds by Jenny Slate, which I think I would put in fun. Jenny Slate's brain is so interesting and so cool, and her style of storytelling is so quirky. This is like a nonfiction collection of stories that she wrote. They're kind of self-reflective, kind of memoir-esque, but more quirky and funny and short story vibes. She is just such a unique human. She's an actress and a comedian. Her brain is so cool. Her brain is so cool, and I listened to this mostly on audiobook and I felt like I was living in her brain, which I said at the time, and I can still remember that feeling so specifically. So I would say fun. There was nothing in it that like impacted me like knife to the chest, like gonna stick with me forever, but I enjoyed it and I would recommend if it seems like something you would like. Next we have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, which is a contemporary romance. Oh, it always looks like I'm putting these in the really low tiers. I'm not. Yeah. So this is one of my favorite romance reads of the year. This is so good. So good. So atmospheric. The writing's incredible. The romance was really good. The tension, the yearning, the characters were so fleshed out. I just really like Tia Williams' voice. I really like her writing style. It was about two authors that knew each other and were in love for like a short amount of time when they were teenagers, and then they've been writing each other into each other's books. They're both famous novelists for their entire careers, and that alone sold me. But then the story itself was so different than what my expectations were that it like superseded them. Do you know what I mean? Like I really enjoyed it because it was so different than what I thought it was gonna be. It was a solid, fun contemporary romance with a lot of like gut punchy moments and just really great character work and just a lot of tension and a lot of yearning, and it was really good. So A Darker Shade of Magic, I think I would put this in. Personally didn't love But I See the Vision. E. Schwab is an incredibly talented writer. This is the first book in a larger trilogy, which I was really excited to start. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about it in terms of like, this is like my favorite series, but I do know a lot of people really enjoy it, which is why I wanted to pick it up in the first place. I just think that the plot is not anything super crazy, super inventive where it keeps you gripped, because it kind of feels like a familiar journey plot, I guess, like mission plot, if you will. And then the characters don't really feel super solid. Like, they don't feel super fleshed out. They don't really come off the page in a very profound or gripping way, I guess. They kind of feel flat. And because of that, I never felt connected to them, and then I never felt connected to the story. But I can see why people would really enjoy this, and I overall had a good time. I wouldn't say that it was like mid to where I was like having to slog through it, because I did have a good time the whole time I was reading it. But I haven't felt compelled to pick up the next book in the series because the story itself and the characters didn't really do that much for me. It's super interesting because that character work was some of what I liked the most in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I don't know. Very interesting. I didn't love it. Okay, next I read The Fury by Alex Michaelides. Not my cup of tea. Didn't enjoy it, had to slog through it, did not have a fun time, and honestly, this was my third book by this author, and it is what led me to decide that he's not for me, and I actually ended up unhauling the 3 books of his that I owned, including this one, so it's not my thing. Serious Death on an Island. I was led to believe it was kind of gonna be like Knives Out vibes. It really wasn't. It had an unreliable narrator that I just really didn't like. Next we have The Perfect Couple. I think I would put it in mid. Maybe? Or maybe personally didn't love, but I see the vision. I liked it. It was okay. Oh, see, now I'm wondering if some of these need to be moved down. Do some of these need to be moved down? Guys, me tier ranking. I'm just too indecisive for this. Yeah. No, yeah, that feels right. Because all of these I did enjoy to a certain extent. This one, I didn't love. Parts of it I liked. I like Ellen Hildebrandt's voice. I just was not invested at any point, and I didn't care. This is about a wedding where what's it called? What's it called when you're best bridesmaid? What's it called? Maid of honor. Where the bridesmaid of honor is found dead on the morning of the wedding, and then everyone's a suspect. There's a whole investigation. It's more contemporary drama than mystery, thriller, etc. Just kind of boring, wasn't invested, didn't care, didn't really like the characters. You know, it's not my thing. Was disappointed because I wanted it to be my thing, but it wasn't. Heartstopper, okay, cute. I only read the first volume during my readathon when I went and stayed with my friends Kat and Maddie. I'm putting in fun and cutie. I thought it was really cute. To be fair though, I have seen the show. Like, I'd seen the show before I read it, so it wasn't like I was experiencing it for the first time and like falling in love with the story. I already knew that I liked it and I knew it was gonna happen. So for me, the reading experience was like just really cute. It was cute. Next up, we have Snowed In, which is one of 2 holiday romances that I read, and honestly, I think I would put it in fun. It was really cute. I don't think it was anything like crazy special, but I had a really good time, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would enjoy like a Christmas romance. So yeah, it was fun. It was cute. I had a good time. I'm glad I read it. I would recommend it if somebody was looking for a Christmas romance. It's set in Ireland, fake dating, girl going back to her hometown after she left her fiance at the altar. So she wants somebody to come with her to make it easier, kind of ease the blow. I had a great time. Ward D by Frida McFadden, Fever Dream and Clock. Hey, I remember a couple scenes really vividly in my head. Other than that, I don't know. I randomly started it on Kindle Unlimited, and then I read a good chunk of it via audiobook while I was on walks. I don't know, but I remember thinking that it was not good. Like, I think of Frida's books, I've read Never Lie, The Housemaid, and Ward D. Ward D, Fever Dream O'Clock. Housemaid, I have it here somewhere. Slashy face. It was bingeable and fast paced. Not like what I was expecting based on the way that so many people love that book and like continue the series. Short, bingeable, nothing to write home about. So maybe I would put it in mid. Moving it. I'm gonna put it in mid. It's about a woman that gets hired to be the housemaid for a wealthy family, and she has a very strange relationship with the wife, like the mom, and things get really weird. And I thought this was incredibly mid. I have no interest in reading the other books in the series, so we have that. Next we have All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is part of the Naturals series. I also read the Naturals, All In, and where's the other one? Killer Instinct. So I'm almost done. This is a 4-book series. It's a young adult mystery thriller series. Teens in the FBI. I've talked about it so many times. I love these books. I really, really love these books. I think all of them are gonna go in nodding head emoji. One thing about me, I love Criminal Minds. Okay, I love Criminal Minds. I love anything that's like kind of a little bit cheesy, like crime solving, found family vibes. Okay, that's why I love Criminal Minds. As much as I think the psychology of it is so interesting and like the crime side of things is so interesting, I'm really in it for the found family and the characters, and I really appreciate that in this series as well. And they're just really, really fun. There's like an overarching mystery that we get little tidbits of throughout, and then the 4th book, which I haven't read yet, but I honestly will probably read this month, is like the culmination. I've been putting it off because I don't want to be done with the world because I love this series a lot. So all 3 nodding head emoji. Like, it's a little bit difficult for me, I think, to put young adult in the very top tier. Like, something about it just feels weird because the books just feel a little bit juvenile. Obviously it's young adult, they're teenagers, so it like stops me from feeling like I'm gonna put it all the way up there, but they're close. Next we have You Again by Kate Goldbeck, contemporary rom-com, When Harry Met Sally retelling, gender swapped. I had a feeling this was gonna happen when I picked it up, and it did. So top tier, Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the beginning was a little bit slow, but I ate up the thing as a whole. I think it was really great. I loved the characters. I loved the relationship. The texting banter was so good. The flirting, I think it was very real for like the modern world of dating and whatnot. And I just really liked it. So she's a new favorite, that's for sure. Also the cover. I'll never get over the cover. Okay, next we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Jillian McAllister. And I think I would put that in Slashy Face, which is so interesting because I feel like these have such similar vibes to me. There were elements of it that I enjoyed. It's a time travel mystery situation, which has stronger character work than most mystery thrillers, but I just had a certain idea of what I thought this was gonna be. And then I was disappointed. I thought it was gonna be a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more, I don't know if punchy is the right word, but it was actually very British and very slow, I guess. I was expecting it to be more like zingy. I don't know. It was fine. It just wasn't what I thought it was gonna be, and so landed a little lower, you know? Okay, next we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is a vampire werewolf romance situation. Yeah. I don't care. I had a great time. Ali Hazelwood knows how to write the kind of books that she knows how to write. She writes them so very well, and this one was just a little paranormal twist on that. There were certain things that freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, specifically about the spice. If you've read, you understand. But I also just overarching, this applies to ACOTAR as well, I don't like the premise of a mate at all, really. The word really bugs me most of the time. So yeah, but overall, I had a great time. I recommended it immediately to my roommate. I think I sent a copy of it to one of my friends. So yeah. Okay, Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. See, this is hard. I think it goes somewhere in the realm of these three. I think I personally didn't love, but I see the vision. This is a contemporary family drama. I wasn't like love obsessed, like this is amazing, I need everyone to read this, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And honestly, my experience of reading it was kind of thrown off because I was listening to it on audiobook and my audiobook started shuffling and I didn't realize that that had happened. And so I listened to half of the second to last chapter before I realized it had skipped ahead. Anyways, it was a warped experience reading it, that's for sure. So I didn't love it, but I see the vision. Like I really like Celeste Ng's writing. Haven't really read that many contemporary family dramas other than hers, this one and Little Fires Everywhere. And I enjoyed both of them. I think this one is a little below Little Fires Everywhere though. Next we have As Good as Dead, which is the third book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, which I read the first two books in 2023. It took me a long time to get to this one because Good Girl's Guide to Murder is not a favorite of mine. It's perfectly fine to me, but I don't think I would ever revisit it. I watched the first season of the show and I liked it. It's really fun seeing it on screen, but like reading it, I just like didn't super care for it. So when I read this one, it went off the rails a little bit, especially for the second half of this book, and I did not know how to feel. I felt like I was racing to get to the end because I was so confused as to how we got there and I needed to see what was gonna happen, but I was really confused and not super enjoying myself. So Fever Dream O'Clock, that's for sure. Read it really fast, but it was like with a huge question mark. And then I actually ended up unhauling the series during my move because the more I thought about it, I was like, this is just not, I don't think it's for me. I don't think it's written for me, and that's totally fine if it's not. I'm glad I read them and I have them existing in my brain, but I don't really care for them that much. Okay, Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is the only other Ali Hazelwood I've ever read? I think it is. So I read my first two Ali Hazelwoods this year. I think fun and cute. Fun and or cute. One of her STEM romances, I think it's the most recent one. It's about a girl that's trying to get a tenure position, I think, research position at MIT, regardless. The guy that ends up like leading the board that's gonna approve whether or not to hire her thinks that she is dating his brother and taking advantage of him and lying about it. So very fun dynamics. This is a book club book for me, and when we talked about it in book club, there were some things that I realized that I didn't love, like the more we reflected on it. So she got bumped down a little bit from being super high on the list, but genuinely, like I ate it up. I stayed late at work to finish a couple chapters because of how locked in I was. Do with that information what you will. Okay, then I reread Happy Place. This is a reread, so it kind of is like a cop-out, but as of right now, that's my top tier Emily Henry book. And you know what? It passed the test. It passed the reread test. I loved it equally as much, if not more than the first time I read it. Cried equally as much, if not more than the first time I read it. I just really like this book and like this story so much. No, I love it, okay? Okay. This is a little bit tricky. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I think personally didn't love, but I see the vision. I enjoyed myself. I listened to almost all of this on audiobook. Could not stand the main character. I tried to read The Martian by Andy Weir as well. Same thing, sarcastic narrator. If I had tried to read this physically, I couldn't have done it. There was so much science jargon in it. Listening to the audiobook made it better and I enjoyed it, and I think I'm gonna love the movie adaptation. I don't think Andy Weir is a writer for me, but like I see the vision. I just don't see myself picking up another book from him. That's why it's here. 28 Summers mid, I think. There were aspects of the plot that I didn't love, but I really like Ellen Hilderbrand's voice. I did, however, unhaul the book. I unhauled it. I kind of think it has to go there. I'm really bad at this, y'all. Like, I'm feeling so unsure about every decision I'm making here. Okay, The Book Club Hotel by Sarah Morgan. Fun and cute. This is the other holiday romance I read, but it's more so about family and friendship, and specifically female friendship. It's about a woman that owns a hotel in snowy Vermont. 3 women that are in a book club together come to her hotel, they cross paths, their stories all intertwined, there's 4 POVs. It's sweet, it's holiday, it's cute. The writing style wasn't my favorite, I'll be completely honest. The audiobook helped, but I just didn't love the writing. There were certain things that I just didn't love. So it was fun, it was cute. I would recommend it. Not an all-time fave, but cute little holiday read. All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. Mystery thriller told backwards. Like, we start with the end, and then each chapter we go back in time and we learn more, and then the initial reveal is at the end, and then it all comes together, and it's actually really well done. This was sitting on my shelf for so incredibly long. I kind of think it has to go in nodding head emoji, which feels crazy, but I think this might have been the case of like right book, right time, because something about it had me like, I was locked in and I really liked it. It would either go in nodding head emoji or fun and or cute. Like, it was really fun, I was really invested, but I kind of feel like it was one of the better thrillers I read this year. So I think I'm gonna put it up there. And then in the same vein, The Only One Left was another thriller I read this year that I remember really, really liking. I am a big Riley Sager girl, but I think The Only One Left could potentially go in the top tier. I think I need to reread it to see if this is true. I'm pretty sure this was the first book that I read in 2024. Something about it, I was eating it up. I was like racing through the pages. I wasn't, you know what? No, we're gonna go nodding head. I'm remembering there were some qualms that I had with it, but I think that this is like one of the few, I think I gave it 5 stars. This was over a year ago at this point, so I can't quite remember. Let me look and see. I gave it 4.5. So she can go in nodding head emoji. I just remember really liking it, and I just love Riley Sager. But speaking of Riley Sager, while we're on this track, actually, I did also read another one by him, Middle of the Night. It came out this year. Flashy face. It like wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was fine, but it was unfortunately boring. It's about a man whose childhood best friend went missing while they were camping in their backyard when they were little, and then he has to come back because his parents are selling their house and they want him to live there, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And then things start unfolding related to Billy's disappearance, and ultimately I just like didn't like it. Even though I did cry at the end, because I'm an easy cry, okay? You can get me super easily. It was just, it's nothing to write home about. Okay, next we have Illuminate, which is a sci-fi, YA sci-fi? Yeah, YA sci-fi book that's in a dossier format. Like, every page is either like an audio recording or paperwork or an email or whatever. Fun, really fun. Really, really liked this one. I have never read a book like this before, and I really, really enjoyed it. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I like randomly picked it up at the thrift store. And so I want to continue the series. Like, I want to read the next 2 books in the series. And honestly, I forgot about it. I need to go ahead and buy them, but I think I need to get the whole series in paperback because the hardcover is chunky. It's really big. Like, highly recommend it. So, okay. So, next we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which if you couldn't tell by my reaction, she goes at the top. Literally one of my favorite reads of the entire year. I was so emotionally impacted by this. I loved it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. I know not everybody feels this way about this book. I do. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. The found family is so sweet. It's about a man that is very stuck in his ways, very stuck in his life, and he is basically a caseworker for this entity that polices magical children. He gets sent to this house to evaluate the man that runs the institute, the house, and then the children that live there, and he ends up obviously falling in love with every single one of them. Okay, and it's really, really sweet. It's really cute, and I loved it a lot. Yeah. And I reread The Raven Boys. I read this, I think, in high school or middle school. Then I was sort of working on a project at the beginning of the year that was similar to this, so I wanted to kind of evaluate the vibes and see if the series held up the way that I thought it did in my mind. And I liked it still. I know it always looks like I'm putting it in the last tier. I'm not. I think on reread, I gave it 5 stars and then bumped it down the more I thought about it retroactively. I think this would go in nodding head emoji. It stands the test of time. It is a solid series if you've never read this series and you kind of like slightly magical, you know, tortured characters, nuanced characters. Like, the character work in this series is really good. It's a young adult mystery fantasy situation, I guess. And it used to rule my space, like not me specifically, but the space that I existed in on tumblr.com. People loved this series. It was like one of the blueprints of series that people were obsessed with on book Tumblr. And I think she stands the test of time. It's really good. Next we have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Personally didn't love, but I see the vision. I enjoyed myself a lot actually when I read this. I had a good time. It is a young adult novel about a young girl that has OCD and just basically kind of chronicling a little portion of her life. It's very John Green. I love the writing. Like, I love his writing so much. much. I think I just didn't super resonate with this because again, I feel like more and more as I get older, I have a little bit of trouble clicking with the way I used to, so that makes sense. But I think it's one of those where if you resonate with the subject matter, I feel like it could really hit home for you regardless of what age you are. So yeah, enjoyed it. Nothing crazy. Honestly, have not really thought about it that much since I read it, so she's somewhere in the middle. This works. Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which is an adult sci-fi series that a lot of people describe as Hunger Games in space, and I don't know that I like 100% agree with that. There's like elements of it for sure. I think I would put it in fun. It's not fun and it's not cute. It's definitely dark and gory and gruesome, but like that is the level of enjoyment I feel like that I had. You know what I mean? Like it is definitely adult, definitely sci-fi, again, gory, dark, war. I think I rated it pretty highly when I first finished it. I don't think, like the more I thought about it after, I think I was more like riding the high of having read it, but I don't, it's one of those where it's like not taste defining for me. I don't think about it. I think I would enjoy continuing the series, but like, would I? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's very interesting. I think she can go here. I feel like a lot of the things in this tier are ones where I wasn't 100% sure how I felt when it ended. Like the more I reflected on it. Like there were things I liked about it and things that I really didn't like. So yeah. A Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, and unfortunately she's gonna go in Slashy Face. She's gonna go in Slashy Face. I really was disappointed with this one. I did not connect with the writing style. I did not connect. Actually, that's it. I didn't connect with the writing style. The premise is about like this old reclusive author that hosts a competition on this island, the secluded island he lives on, for one of the contestants to win the manuscript of his final novel. It fell so flat. There was so much potential and the execution just was not there. It didn't work for me. It's cozy and cute, but that's about it. And I was expecting so much more from it, which is why she's going in like disappointment category. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. Summer rom-com that I read during my 24-hour readathon with Kat and Maddie. This is either gonna go in nodding head emoji or yup, hands praise emoji. Here's the thing. I can't remember a ton about the actual plot of this, and so I feel like I can't put it all the way in the top tier, but just know I really loved it, okay? I had a really, really good time. I was giggling, I was kicking my feet, I was eating it up. I do remember feeling kind of like, like the conflict towards the end got a little bit dumb in my opinion. I really, really liked it and I would recommend it very highly. So this might be one that I reread in the future and maybe she could be bumped up to like an all-time fave. But I think also because a 24-hour readathon is such an interesting environment to read a book in, they all kind of blend together. I don't actually know where she stands in comparison to everything else. So I think for now I'm gonna put her in the nodding head emoji category. Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I read this on a whim on my Kindle. My friend Maddie told me it was quick, nothing crazy, not that good, but like really bingeable. And I think that that is 100% what it was. I think I would put it in mid. One of those where if you need almost like a palate cleanser thriller that's like not that great quality wise, but like it'll do the job, I would recommend that. Just kind of like, I feel like it occupies the same space as The Housemaid, where they're like super, super bingeable. They will do the job, you know? Mystery thriller, young boy drawing weird pictures. The pictures are in the book. Things spiral out of control with his nanny. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've been doing this for so long. The sun is genuinely, she's starting to go down. We're in the home stretch though. Okay. The Guncle by Stephen Rowley. Personally, I do think I can put this in the top tier. I can put it all the way up there. I thought that this was really, really cute. I have become so much more of a literary fiction person than I ever thought that I would be. And I'm really enjoying it so, so, so much these days. And this is one of those that's kind of like the pinnacle of my taste. I feel like wholesome, coming of age at any age, really heartwarming, really endearing, deeper topics, hits ya hard kind of story. You know what I mean? Like, I like the ones that feel like they have a lot of heart. That's really what'll get me. And I feel like House in the Cerulean Sea and The Guncle both do that very, very well. And honestly, so does Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This was my third Frederick Bachman book. The other one of which is also down here should be, yes, Us Against You. I've read 3 Frederick Bachman books. The first 2 books in the Beartown trilogy, Beartown and Us Against You. And then Anxious People I read also this year. Frederick Bachman, I love his writing style. I resonate with it so much. I think his character work is incredible, but I think his work with themes is the part that really makes him stand out in my mind as like an all-time fave, because these 2 books, when I tell you the way that they sucker punched me multiple times in many different ways. I say this every time I talk about him, but he is so good at highlighting nuances of the human experience, putting them into words, and really just like kind of like hitting you across the face with it. So Anxious People is about a bank robbery gone wrong where the bank robber runs across the street, takes a group of people that are touring an apartment hostage, and then there's like a cop and his son trying to hostage negotiate, and then we're also spending time with the people in the room. And it is way more contemporary drama vibes than thriller bank robbery vibes. It's more about the people, and it's so good. And then Us Against You is the second Beartown book, continuation of this story of these people that live in this small town that runs on hockey and the nuances of their lives and their relationships and life in that town. And it is just so poignant and so heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time, and I love it. 5 stars for both of those. Honestly, maybe 6 stars. I love Frederick Bachman. Next we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is definitely in one of the 2 top tiers on this list for sure. I really don't know. This might be crazy. Like, that might be crazy putting it all the way up there. I'm gonna put it in nodding head emoji because I think this is one of those where if I read the second book in this series, Hellbent, it might be 5 stars top tier, and then it might subsequently move Ninth House up. But I think as of right now, I'm gonna put her in the second tier. I think she could move up. I think she could belong in the top tier, but I'm not sure. This is another 24-hour readathon book where things get skewed, things get blurry, and I'm not sure 100%, but I really like this. Dark academia, fantasy, secret societies. Yeah. We're rapid firing now. I've been rambling too much. Okay, so The Institute by Stephen King. My first Stephen King book this year. Well, ever, actually. Okay, and then I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which is a young adult duology, fantasy / romance subplot vibes, and I really enjoyed them, but I think I would put them both in fun and or cutie. Crooked Kingdom could maybe go a little bit above because I did enjoy it a little bit more, but I think they both belong here. I think my expectations were really high, and although I really enjoyed them and I thought they were really well done and really good, I wasn't obsessed, like love forever kind of vibes. So they can go in fun and cute. And we have The Most by Jessica Anthony. It was a little novella that I got Barnes & Noble, a bookseller just handed it to me and was like, read this, it's crazy. It wasn't. It was fine, if not a little boring, and I will probably never think of it ever again. So just not written for me, not my cup of tea. Okay, then we have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, which if I'm being completely honest with you, I actually forgot that I read this year. I remember liking it. I think I gave it 4 stars. This is funny because I actually, like, is this a situation where I put it in fever dream? I don't know. I think it was fun and cute. If I'm remembering correctly, I think I thought it was fun and cute, but nothing crazy. Maybe it could go in personally didn't love, but if I'm being honest, my memory is so terrible and I don't remember. Let me see. Let me just make sure. Okay, I give it 3.5. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna put it in personally didn't love. I apparently didn't love the writing style. I felt removed from the tragedy. I think I'm gonna go personally didn't love, but I see the vision. I think I will try another Catherine Center, but I wasn't obsessed. Okay. Okay, and then I read Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the Last Hour series. I love Cassandra Clare. I love anything Shadowhunters universe. This is the most recent series, I think. I think I will put it in fun because I remember saying I didn't think it was anything crazy, anything groundbreaking, but I always enjoy Shadowhunters books and I'm excited for the premise that was set up this one and to continue it. I just haven't yet. And I really should. So fun, cute, would always recommend a Shadowhunters book. Yeah. Okay, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I think I would also put this in fun. This is so funny. This is a huge category. I would put this in fun. I have a feeling that the sequel will be higher tier for me. One Dark Window I thought was really enjoyable. I liked the romance. The magic system was so interesting. Like I thought it was well done. I really enjoyed it. House of Hollow. This is an interesting one because I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. I think I would put it in personally didn't love, but I see the vision. I thought it was super interesting, very unique, very creative. Unlike anything I've ever read before, this is like a young adult horror / fantasy situation, and it scratched like a certain itch in my brain, but I honestly don't see myself thinking about it in the years to come beyond just like remembering that I read it. Like I don't think that it was something that really resonated or stuck with me. I just thought it was cool and well done and interesting. And it wasn't like, I'm loving this. It was like, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it was just below these, but it wasn't in the 4-star range, you know? Flawless by Elsie Silver, little rom-com, cowboy romance, first of the Chestnut Spring series, which everyone loves. I personally didn't love. I understand people loving the found family, small town vibes of it all. Not 100% for me. I'm probably gonna continue the series, but I think the spice level and maybe like style were a little bit too much for me if I'm remembering correctly. And I wasn't obsessed. I wasn't super invested. I wasn't thinking about it afterward. I don't think it's gonna be like my thing. I'm not counting it out. Like again, I will try another book in the series, but just like certain things about it, not my fave. Okay, The Unmaking of June Farrow, unfortunately, you know, I'm gonna put it in personally didn't love. I think it could in some ways apply to Sideways Face. This is like a magical realism, historical fantasy situation where our main girl, June Farrow, her family has a history of losing their mind. They think it's a curse, like people think it's a curse, and she's never really understood what happens or how it happens, and then we follow along as it happens to her, and it involves time travel and romance. And I just think it was not what I was expecting it to be. I had such high hopes. My expectations were like really, really high, and it was just a lot more like historical, I guess, than I thought it was gonna be. Like I thought it was gonna be maybe more about time meets cursed fantasy situation, but it was definitely more Outlander-ish. Like not even, but kind of. I enjoyed it, but didn't love it. If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I think that this one can go in the top tier. This is a dark academia mystery thriller. I guess I would say more thriller. It takes place at a prestigious college full of a theater troupe. It's very, very similar to Secret History, very similar vibes, but it's definitely more fast-paced and more contemporary than Secret History. It scratches that same itch, and I really, really liked it. I can see myself revisiting this in the future. It was really good. Okay, Fourth Wing. I think I gave it 4 stars. Like I think I ended up saying I really, really enjoyed myself, so I feel like I have to be true to my past self and put it in fun. If I'm being honest with you guys, I don't think I'm gonna continue this series. I think the first book was fun, but I think it was fun for what it was. I don't think I am invested in the series in that way where I want to invest more time in it. Like I think I so appreciate why people love it and why people love the series, and I'm not discounting the fact that I did have fun when I was reading it, but I'm just not super locked in and continuing it. So can't put it higher than fun. I can't say I personally didn't love, because I did actually really enjoy it. It got a little taxing towards the end, but overall I had a good time. So she's fun. I'll give it to the girlies. She's fun. Funny story. I think funny story gets to go in nodding head emoji because I love Emily Henry, don't get me wrong. Funny story just really didn't hit for me the way the last like 2 or 3 Emily Henry books I've read did. Funny story, I think missed the mark for me a little, but I do think it's because I had such high expectations. Like I wanted it to impact me the way Happy Place did, and it didn't, and then I think I was just a little bit disappointed. So I want to give her another chance. I think I might do similar to like what I did with Happy Place, where I reread this early this year after reading it for the first time in the summer, and we'll just see where she ends up landing. But as of right now, I think this is my last place Emily Henry book, if not second to last. I need to reread. Maybe I'll do a rereading Emily Henry reading vlog. But yeah, she's not top tier, but I did really enjoy her. Miss Emily, whom I love. Can't wait for her book coming out this year. This one just maybe wasn't a top tier read for me, and that is totally fine. It was still really cute, and I still love Miles and Daphne. I just think, and I need to give it another chance. So Happy Medium, this one really surprised me. This is a little Halloween time, like fall time, cutie little rom-com. Fun and or cutie. Okay, I had such a good time. There is a part of me that wants to put it in nodding head emoji because that is how much I enjoyed it when I was reading it. Like I ate it up. But I know quality wise maybe it doesn't necessarily belong in a higher tier, but I just personally really, really liked it. It's just fun and cute. I think it was right book, right time, but objectively in the tier ranking of it all, I think it goes in fun and cute. Okay, so first book in the Mindfuck series, which is a serial killer romance situation on Kindle. It's a big book broken up into 5 smaller books, and I read the first one, The Risk. Not my thing. Not my thing. Really didn't like the writing style. Don't really care for the plot that was introduced in the first book. I think it would make more sense if it was all one book. Maybe I'm speaking too soon because I haven't read the other ones, but when this first book ended, I was like, oh, just not for me. Not for me, I fear. Vampires of El Norte. I read this in January, so again, I don't remember a ton of specifics, but it's either fun and cute or nodding head emoji. I remember the tension being crazy. This is a historical horror romance with a vampire entity, but it's not like, the romance is not involving the vampires. The vampires are evil beings invading Mexico in like the 1800s, I think. The story is so interesting, really well written. There was a lot of stuff that I really, really liked about it, including this cover. Are you kidding? Okay, I'm obsessed with the cover. I think I gave it either 4 or 4.5. I said definitely areas that could have been stronger, but it was fun. Vibes were immaculate. I've never read a gothic western, let alone a Latin one, and it was such a rich and cool premise. Fun. So I think she can go in fun for sure. Okay, then I read The Grace Year. I binged this in less than 24 hours. This is a YA dystopia, I guess you would say. I think I would put it in nodding head emoji. Something about it I find so compelling and so interesting where I would reread it and I would definitely recommend it. I think it is so, so good. Are there things about it that aren't the strongest and maybe are questionable the more you think about them? Yes, but in the moment, I was very compelled, okay? I was very locked in, I was very invested. So I think that deserves second tier energy. Okay, and then these are two that I read in December very recently. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan is a little novella that is about mother and baby homes in Ireland in the 1980s, I believe. It takes place at Christmas time in the winter, so that's why I wanted to read it in the winter time, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a holiday read. It's a seasonally winter read, not a holiday read. I think, unfortunately, I would put this somewhere between, I think I would put it in Personally Didn't Love But I See the Vision. I think what I've learned this year is novellas are just truly not for me. I find it very hard to resonate with the story, to like click with the story, to really become invested because there's not ample time to spend with the characters or the story. I think the subject matter of this is really important and really interesting. I had no idea that that was even happening in Ireland, so I do value the content. I just didn't connect with it emotionally and I really wanted to and was expecting to and I didn't. However, I do really want to watch the movie with Cillian Murphy because it's been adapted actually like last year. It's kind of doing an awards run, so I will be watching that because I love Cillian Murphy and I thought that the story was very interesting. I think it's the kind of story that will be better served by being on screen than in a novella format, so that's interesting. And then lastly, this was actually, I think, the last book I read in 2024, which was The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. It's a little rom-com-y mystery, like basically Knives Out with romance kind of vibe. It takes place at a mansion in the British countryside and I ate it up. I honestly could almost put it in nodding head emoji, I think. It was really fun and really cute. So 100% that could be the baseline. I will say sometimes they lose me when our MMC gets very simpy. Like that's kind of where they lose me sometimes. And this man was definitely giving simpy. He was giving protector. He was giving I will lay down my life for you, which we love, but I think for my taste it was a bit excessive. But I really, really liked the characters. I thought they were really good. I thought the romance was really cute. I thought the premise was really fun. I love Knives Out, like premise wise. And so, you know, authors kind of with a rivalry getting invited to this mysterious rich and famous old author's home where she disappears out of a locked room and then they have to solve it. Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. So could go higher, but I think this is good. I see now what's very interesting is if I had left my tiers like they were last year, every single book in these two categories would be in one. So with that information what you will, I loved all of these books. I loved these books. And overall, I think 2024 was a really, really good reading year. I feel like I have found out so much more about my taste. I feel like I know more about what I don't like and I know more about what I really, really do like. And I'm so excited to be even more intentional with my reading this year with finding new authors or reading more from authors that I know I really like that I found this year or last year and then haven't revisited. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I think there is a lot of potential for this year. Okay, with that being said, I've been talking for so incredibly long. I'm actually really scared to see what the length of this video is ultimately going to be because I've been filming for almost 2 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy New Year. I just realized I haven't said that in a video yet because this is my first video of 2025. So Happy New Year. I think potentially I haven't really said that it's 2025 out loud that much, so that was a little bit jarring. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you happen to get this far in the video, I'm really proud of you. Please comment a book stack emoji. There will be few and far between, I fear, because this is gonna be so long, but I love you. Thank you. Anyways, Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one where we're probably doing that. So, okay, bye.